All right, guys. So our next topic here is just a quick little thing that found kind of interesting. Kevin Feige recently did an interview, and apparently, it's been kind of their modus operandi, or I don't think I pronounced that right. Modus operandi, whatever the hell.
Operandi.
It's been their thing that Marvel has signed all of their actors to these big multi-film deals. Because they wanted to be able to lock them into, if they wanted to bring them back, they had to come back. Because they do the big connect universe, and if they needed them to maybe, if they needed to show up in an Avengers movie later, then they're contractually obligated to do so. And because that's the thing, if you sign a 7 film deal, it doesn't mean that they have to do 7 movies. It just means if Marvel wants them to come back, they have to because they are contractually obligated to do so. So, recently though, it seems like in an interview that he has done, Kevin Feige has done. I don't know why I'm tripping over these words, but he came out and said that from now it's gonna vary from project to project and cast to cast. And then said really what we want are people that come in are excited to be in the universe, are excited at the opportunity to do more things as opposed to being locked in through contractual obligations. So I find it fairly interesting just because it's a complete 180 on what the modus operandi has been for so long now. Because they run the risk doing this, obviously, to where if they did say that it varies for is gonna vary from movie to movie and cast to cast. So I don't I'm sure that if, they knew someone was gonna be a big hit, which is always hard to say, um, that they would probably sign them for a longer deal than something else that they would like, knew was just gonna be a one-off thing. But it would be kind of tricky with how they're doing some things on Disney Plus now. They're doing some things, on theaters, and they wanna do this, that, and the other. So, like, it I don't know. I could see them running into some issues doing it that way. I don't think it'd be too much of a problem because you just throw someone more money and they do it. Because the biggest reason they started doing these longer movie deals was because they got pretty burned by Robert Downey Jr. because he was only signed on for like I think he was just signed on for Iron Man, and they wanted him to come back for Iron Man 2. They needed to sign a new contract, and because like he obviously saw like how well it did for them, he kinda backed him into a corner, not to mad respect to him to do so, but he got a pretty damn big paycheck to come back.
Oh yeah.
But obviously, they made him sign a multi-year deal at this point to do so. So, nevertheless, um, John, what do you think about this? Do you think it's a smart move for them to do this? I think one of the other reasons that may have made them want to change how they do these contracts is because if you guys remember back when they were casting for Doctor Strange, Joaquin Phoenix was the front runner to be Doctor Stephen Strange, but he did not want to sign a multi-year deal. Like, that was the only reason he didn't wanna do it. Like, he was gonna do it. They wanted him to sign a big deal contract, multi-film deal, and he didn't wanna do it at all. So that's why, Joaquin Phoenix is no longer or is did not end up being Doctor Strange. Had they, had this as their, format, maybe we'd be looking at an MCU with Joaquin Phoenix as Doctor Strange. Granted, kinda like I was saying before, I feel like with characters like a Doctor Strange that they know are gonna be needed in future films to come, that's probably one they would force that person and that actor into a multi-film deal because they have plans for him to return in other roles, and they don't wanna have to recast an actor every time they wanna do a movie. You know what I mean? But John, what are your thoughts about this? Do you think this is a smart move? Do you think kinda like I said, like and kinda like Kevin said, it's gonna be dependent on the character in the film more so than anything. So, like, how much do you even think this is gonna be a thing? Do you think it's ever gonna be something that comes up again, really?
I definitely do. I think that this is ultimately. I don't think this is the best idea for Marvel. I'm not really sure what the fiscal situation is. They seem to be making money just fine, so I'm not sure what the fiscal thinking behind this is. If it's Disney wanting to just squeeze out a few more pennies, and if so, that's a little disappointing. Because I think one of the things that people enjoy. One of the things that keeps people coming back and has people so invested in the MCU is that interconnectedness and the fact that you get these stories that build upon each other, and you get these overarching stories like the Infinity Saga. Excuse me. So to not have actors signed on, I understand that from Feige's what he's saying. Ultimately it's going to be the actor is going to get a ton of attention in the marketplace. Look at a guy like Chris Hemsworth. If Hemsworth never plays Thor, does he go on to be as big of an actor as he is right now? If is he getting the multi-million-dollar deals from like Netflix if he had never played the character of Thor? Chris Evans to a lesser extent, but still, even Chris Evans had a smaller movie profile. He had been in the Fantastic Four movies, but still, I don't think he was the mega movie star that he is now, and I think a lot of that has to do with Captain America. So just all those factors in general, I can see where Kevin Feige's coming from. Like, hey, you come to Marvel, we'll make you into a household name. I mean, we'll pay you well. We're not, but we're not going to give you. We're not going to back the Brinks truck up to your house or anything, but we'll pay you well. But you'll also get the added benefit of being highly desirable in the marketplace, and your name will be a household name going forward if you're part of our universe. So it works both ways. I hope it ends up working out. I'd really hate to see a situation where they're building towards a Avengers 5, Avengers 6, whatever those movies end up being called, and one of the key players, because they aren't locked into a long-term deal, says, you know what, you're either going to pay me this much to be in it, or I'm going to go do something else. And unfortunately, there are actors out there that will do stuff like that. I mean, we've seen actors abandon roles when they feel like A, they aren't getting paid well enough, or B, they don't have enough creative control or things like that. And having those long-term contracts in place kind of gives you some insurance against that. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I'm personally a little disappointed to hear this, but Kevin Feige again, the guy seems to know what he's doing. So I don't know. I hope this is truly something that's he's on board with, and not something that's being dictated from Disney.
Yeah, I think it'd be a bad time to ever doubt Kevin Feige. He's never really led us astray in any sort
Sure.
of decision he's made. So I'm sure I'm sure this is a way just for them, at least in my mind. I would imagine this is more of a way for them to get some more like high profile kind of actors to be like a Joaquin Phoenix, like I said before, for him to actually be on board and come in and actually do something with them. Like, I feel like though with this, it's going to limit like what kind of roles they could do. Because like now at this point, like I said, like they knew Doctor Strange was going to be someone that they needed in, X, Y, and Z film. So if that's going to be the case, they'll still run into that issue with an actor who is not okay with doing that. So it's going to limit whatever character they could really play. So it's like, how important is that character even going to be if they're just going to be in like some sort of one-off movie, at least for like the greater picture of the
Sure.
MCU?
Right.
So
Well, and here's the other thing, like, I can't think we just got done talking, I kind of in the well, I mean, I don't know. We just got done talking about how actors don't necessarily carry movies anymore. It's there are movie stars, sure, but it's not like the old days where people just go see a movie all oh, you guys are synchronized drinking. How
I
cute.
noticed that, like, out of the corner of my
Yeah,
eye.
you guys, yeah.
I was, like, dead on
But
too.
yeah, it was good. I don't know. I don't know that actors are the draw anymore. It seems to be more story and
Franchises.
franchise that's the draw. So I don't know.
it'll be interesting. Rick, what do you think about this? Do you think it's a good move?
It's hard to say, really. I mean, I I think, like, in a way, it's like you said, it's gonna be hard because, like, you're gonna have these actors that are gonna demand a really large sum of money because they're not contractually obligated to be in this character, but, like, what are they gonna do if a major character such as, like, let's just say, like, Captain America or Thor or something like that can't be in the movie because of money or this or that? Like, it's gonna kinda really throw a wrench in the spokes, you know? So, I don't know. I don't think no matter what, I think they'll get it fixed up, and I think everything will work out and all that, but it's kind of interesting. Like, when I read that headline, when you pulled it up originally off camera, I was like, "That's kinda crazy." But
Yeah, because it just I can see why they wanna do it, but it's just like the Robert Downey Jr. situation
The
feels
guy
like
got
it's gonna
paid.
be more trouble than it was worth.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I guess if they're kinda like you were getting at, John, if they're gonna get offered, a fair salary to begin with, like for you just gotta sign one contract for a one single film deal, you get paid a good amount of money, it's good exposure, etcetera, etcetera. And, I mean, maybe they wouldn't be so, I don't know, like, just shitty about wanting more money if they wanted him to come back, like,
Yeah.
to do
Yeah.
something else.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you'll inevitably run into the issue where, like, say they want him to come back for, like, a quick 10-minute, 5 minutes of screen time thing. Like, no one's gonna really wanna do that at that point, like, they're not contractually obligated to do so. So, I could just find it I could just see it being, troublesome in the future for small things like that, granted. If it's just gonna be a small thing like that, I guess it really wouldn't be needed. I just wouldn't want it to interfere with just the overall quality and, like, anything creatively, right? Because imagine if it's almost like the same issue of just, like, not owning the rights for, like, the Hulk, for instance. Like, they can't make a Hulk movie, standalone Hulk movie, but they can have him in for, like, these small little things. So, like but they can't make a Hulk movie, like, unless they want Paramount to get all the money for it or Universal.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a little issue, because you can still use the Hulk, but they can't just go out and make, like, a World War Hulk movie, you know?
Yeah.
And you just run into, like, a very similar issue. It's like, well, we'd like to have, X character in this movie, but, you know, Will Smith didn't sign a multi-film deal, so, he's busy, so we can't get it's gonna cost us a lot of money to get him in, so we're just gonna not have, whatever character he's playing be in the movie, like, because it's just too much hassle, you know?
Well, and that's kind of what I was getting at. Like, I didn't really finish my thought off. I got distracted, I guess. But that's what I was kind of getting at with saying there aren't any movie stars left. Like, yeah, it might have been interesting to see Joaquin Phoenix as Doctor Strange, but I'm sorry, I don't think we've lost anything by switching over to Benedict Cumberbatch. I can't think of a movie actor or actress that, like, oh my god, if they got her, it would be or him, it would be unbelievable. Like, oh my, like there's no Brandos left anymore. There's no like person that like they could get where I'd be like, oh my god, I normally wouldn't go see this movie, but because this actor's in it. No, it's going to be like, what's the movie? What's the story? I mean, for me, it's an MCU movie, so they got me regardless of who they could cast me in, and I'd still go see it. But it just at this point, I can't think of a single movie star that's going to like they're going to lose out by not having them in there. What they do lose out on is like, what if Josh Brolin had decided after the first two Thanos appearances that he, I don't really feel like coming back. Like
Exactly.
the one thing people love about these movies is they build a world around them and they build a story that goes forward. And if an actor is building that part of that world and then suddenly jumps ship, that world starts to kind of crumble and,
Oh, yeah.
and the
Mhm.
illusion of it. I mean, outside of Don Cheadle and who was the guy before him, Terrence Howard,
Yeah.
Mhm.
besides that character switch, that actor switch, they've done a remarkable job of keeping the consistency, which just makes the movies feel. I mean, I know it's the MCU and it's completely fictional, but it feels more real.
Yeah.
You're able to immerse yourself in the world and suspend your what's the phrase
Suspend your
Suspend your
your
disbelief.
disbelief.
Yeah.
suspend your disbelief because you know these characters and you know these actors that are portraying them. And so anyway, I'm getting long-winded on it, but that's really what I'm afraid of with this.
That's what's gonna like, if it's not the financial aspect that would hurt him, it would just be, like, the continuity, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because you just run the risk of damaging the continuity of it all, you know?
Right.
So, like 'cause like I say, since like, I'm sure they pay actors a fair salary, so, like, I'm sure they could get someone to come back for and do another movie. It's just like I said, we could potentially lose out on, like, the smaller things because they're not contractually obligated to come and do it. Like,
Yeah.
if you cast some big name guy and he's gonna be in this one-off thing, like, quote, unquote, "one-off thing" because he only signed a one-film deal, he or she. Like, say they wanted, like, like Thor Ragnarok, for instance. Hulk was like a
Chris Evans?
secondary character.
Oh,
You know what I mean? Like Hulk was there the entire. He was like a
sure,
co-star,
Yeah.
but he wasn't the main guy. Like so, like
sure,
if they wanted to do something like that with someone they've only signed to a one film deal, they can't do it. Like they'd have to
sure.
negotiate a whole new contract. They could want a whole sum of other amount of money. They might just be completely unavailable to do so. Like you could run into something like that. I mean, granted, that's like worst case scenario because I'm sure for anybody that like they know is gonna come back, they're gonna make them sign a multi-film deal. Because Kevin Feige, of all things, he at least always has a plan. Like he always has his 5-year plan mapped out, probably a 10-year plan, and he doesn't tell us the second half of the 10-year plan. So if they like Fantastic Four, for instance, I'm sure they're going to be signed to a 3-film deal minimum. You know, I mean, I don't think they're going to cast a whole group of people to headline something like that for a single film deal.
Right.
Like,
Right.
because he's not stupid, you know what I mean? But it's just like it just really brings into question, like, well, who does this even apply to at that point?
Right.
Like,
Well, I wonder if this is also him going like, we signed Samuel L. Jackson to a 9-picture deal, and we had no idea how we were going to use him in those 9 pictures, and we were left kind of shoehorning him in here or there because we had him under contract and we were paying him, so we felt like we had to use him. And maybe this is more like, we're not going to give out a big contract with the exception of like, we know you're going to appear in X, Y, and Z. So we'll give you the 3-picture deal because we know you're going to be in these 3. And then if we find out we're going to use you in these other 3 later on, we'll sign you to another 3.
hmm
Right.
it's just a curious like development because I just like I
Yeah.
said, I just question who this really would apply to. Like,
Yep.
and then like you said, what does it even matter? Is like what benefit would we have gotten from Joaquin coming in and starring in one Doctor Strange movie? Like, because like if he didn't want to come back, then we don't see Doctor Strange again, or they have to recast him, and then you pretty much have to
Yeah.
just erase that whole movie because you're getting a
Nobody
different
nobody
actor. It's
ca
completely different.
nobody counts the Edward Norton Hulk movie as part of the MCU. Even
Yeah,
though
they don't.
technically it is,
hmm
nobody counts it because it feels so odd with such a, with a different actor playing Bruce Banner.
Yeah.
And they're
Um,
completely
and
different characters.
They really are.
Like
yeah,
they like Ruffalo acts entirely different than
Like his mannerisms and everything.
everything's different than
yeah,
Ed Norton's Hulk. So I don't even
yeah,
fault people for not even remembering that it's part of the MCU because the Hulk
yeah,
is just so much different than like he even the Hulk CG model looks completely different, and then
sure.
Bruce Banner acts completely different than the other one. So like, and that's the problem. That's the continuity issue they could eventually run into if something like this like actually happens.
Right.
Yeah, and in the case of like, let's say Joaquin Phoenix would have been a better Doctor Strange. I don't believe that he would have, but let's say he would have. His
Yeah.
performance would have been markedly better than Benedict Cumberbatch's in that one particular movie. Would it have been that much better to give up all the great performances and interactions and tie-ins that happen later on? Would have been that much better to give up, Doctor Strange raising his finger to Tony for the one instance at the end of Endgame and knowing what that meant? Like, no, like to give up that character just to get a performance that may or may not be better. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
hard to.
I know, man. That's why I'm curious because like I don't feel like they would ever put themselves in that position anyway. So again,
Yeah,
I just have to ask, like, well, then who
that's
does
a
this
good
apply
point.
to? Like, who is it? Because at that point, it's almost like a non-story, at that point.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
like, if he's just gonna like do like a one-off thing, then who cares? Like, but it's just like I don't know, probably making a
Do you
bigger deal out of it than it really is ever gonna be. But
Do you think this is just a PR marketing ploy to put it out there for actors and actresses that may be up for roles that they're coming in and being like, "Well,
probably,
you want me in your role, Marvel? I want a 6-picture deal with this much." And they're just getting, since they are kind of starting a whole new phase and a whole new string of films, like maybe they're just setting the bar for actors and actresses that are coming in, like just giving them a heads up in the press that, hey, don't be coming in here asking for 80 million in 8 films.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing too. Maybe it's gotten to a point because Marvel is such a juggernaut out in the the film industry that like when people are going in, maybe all these agents are trying to negotiate like these big ass deals. It's like, well, you're probably going to want them in X, Y, and Z movies and in the future. So we want this, that, and the other, and blah blah. So maybe it is just like, look, we're not going to do that anymore. Like we're just like, we'll sign it on there. If you want to come back, cool. If not, we'll work around you.
I think it's
Make them feel like they're not important. Because like in the end, they're not. They
no,
really
everybody's
like
replaceable.
yeah, that's the thing. Like they replaced Don Cheadle with or they replaced Terrence Howard with Don Cheadle. It was weird for 2 seconds, and like we'll move on.
They even made
like,
that a point in the movie, I think.
They did.
Yeah,
He's
but
like it's me. Deal with it, and then like
yeah, just kind of like okay,
deal
on
with
to the
it.
next thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then War Machine ended up being like one of the coolest Avengers. So
Yeah, like I wouldn't trade Don Cheadle back for Terrence. No disrespect to Terrence Howard, he's a great actor and everything.
no,
but, like,
Don Cheadle is War Machine.
Like Don Cheadle's just like he's who I think about when I think of War Machine. Like it is what it is. So like, but again, I highly doubt this would like if like I said, if it's a Fantastic Four level character, they're gonna lock them people in. It's there's no way they wouldn't. It'd be like I don't know, it'd just be really stupid if they didn't. So I'm just in the end left to question who is this really for. So like it does make me seem like you said, like maybe it is just a way for them to a make some people feel like your Joaquin Phoenixes feel a little bit more comfortable about working with Marvel because I'm sure a lot of actors out there like Joaquin are very hesitant because there's like I don't want to do like a big thing, but it's like if they could get Leonardo DiCaprio to come in and do a one-off, why would you not? Like,
True.
like why not? Like, so like maybe like sure, like who knows? Like, but then kind of like you said, like maybe actors and like agents out there just trying to get these massive film deals all the time, and like it's just annoying. Like, I can see it being
Yeah.
just annoying. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But question is, guys, what do you think about this? Do you think it's a whole like making a big deal about nothing? Because, like I said, I really highly doubt this will. We'll probably never hear or see anything come of this. Like on our side of things, as like a fan, we'll probably never be affected by it unless we end up seeing, somehow they made the mistake of casting some bigger like character that they wanted to come in multiple films, but the actor didn't want to for some reason. That'd be the only time we could ever really see it become a problem again. But whatever you think, let us know down in the comment section below.